Hello and welcome. Let's take a look at our top story. The G20 summit in Brazil has ended. World leaders discuss some of the most pressing issues in Rio de Janeiro. The baton has now been handed over to South Africa. South Africa will be hosting the Group of 20 summit next year and will be the first African nation to do so. Brazil's President Lula da Silva closed the G20 summit on Tuesday and handed over the presidency to South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. The Brazilian president said the handover reflects ties that unite Latin America and Africa.
We have a responsibility to do better. It is with this hope that I pass the gavel of the G20 presidency to President Ramaphosa. This is no ordinary handover of the presidency. It is the concrete expression of the historical, economic, social, and cultural bonds that unite Latin America and Africa.
South Africa will commence its G20 presidency from the 1st of December. President Cyril Ramaphosa says it will center on the themes of solidarity, equality, and sustainability. He said the country will use the historic opportunity to focus on inclusivity and economic growth and will press for ending sufferings in Ukraine, Gaza, and Sudan.
Our approach to the G20 summit is underpinned by inclusivity. We want to include all voices, all views, and all structures as much as we possibly can. Africa is our home, and we are going to seek to make this G20 an Africa-focused G20.
President Ramaphosa has pledged to promote the priorities of the Global South. Over the years, G20 presidency has been a way for developing and developed countries to unite. In 2022, it was hosted by Indonesia. In 2023, it was India's turn. And this year, it was Brazil. And next year will be South Africa. South Africa is the only G20 member country from the African continent. Now, before the regional African organization, the African Union, joined the group. Last year in New Delhi, the African Union was included as a permanent member of the G20, after a push by the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This inclusion was seen as historic, significant, and necessary. The G20 consists of countries Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, South Korea, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkey, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Together, the G20 accounts for around 85% of the world's GDP, more than 75% of global trade, and around 2/3 of the population on the planet. As the African Union joins the group, it gets the same status as the European Union, which sits alongside 19 countries. African leaders believe that the move will increase Africa's voice, visibility, and influence. This year, a 55-member African Union attended the summit for the first time as a full member. Africa's agenda for the summit reportedly included climate financing, global taxation systems, and debt crisis. So how did the G20 perform on these agendas? Though the leaders reaffirmed their support for multilateralism and the UN Climate Convention to solve climate problems, they did not give a clear signal to the negotiators trying to agree on a new finance package to support climate action in developing countries. Apart from this, the G20 achieved some success in achieving consensus taxation measures. The group endorsed the idea of making sure that the ultra-high net worth individuals are effectively taxed. The decision aims to address global inequality and to raise funds to combat poverty and climate change. One of the landmark achievements of this year's G20 summit was the formation of a global alliance against hunger, which was launched as the summit began, with 82 countries joining in. The alliance aims to unite international efforts to provide financing in the campaign against hunger and to replicate programs that have proved successful in some countries. Apart from these, the summit wrapped up with divisions over the ongoing wars in Ukraine and Gaza. Meanwhile, leaders pledged to work toward reforming the United Nations Security Council making it more inclusive, aligning with today's multipolar world. However, so far there has been more talk than action on many of these issues. Despite world leaders meeting annually, many of the pressing concerns remained unsolved, particularly those faced by the nations and people of the global South. Now, will South Africa's G20 presidency bring some breakthrough? Now, to discuss further, we have with us Boyo Bensen, a political commentator who is joining us live from Pretoria. Thank you for being with us.
Good afternoon to yourself and to the viewers.
Now, how does South Africa plan to address the challenges of inclusive economic growth on a global scale during its G20 presidency? And what strategies might it adopt to ensure participation from both the developed and developing nations?
Look, there are multiple ways on how South Africa should or could do that. One such, you will know that South Africa, it has a lot of potential in as far as informal economy is concerned. So we might have to, South Africa, map ways of formalizing the informal sector and, generating income, finance through that sector. But beyond that, we need to create financial systems that will be flexible to include those who are currently excluded. This is one of perhaps the leg. But we also need to support small business and entrepreneurs by perhaps by supporting them and also by incentivizing their initiatives so far. The other possibility might be that as you know, that we've got a problem of infrastructure, especially in regard to roads, power, and water. So we might need to, generate investment in that regard, so that mobility is not a problem, movement of goods is not a problem in the country. Because we know that where roads are a problem, or where there is shortage of water, or where electricity or power is a problem, then it equally affects, the growth of economy. The other important one for me will be the prioritization of social justice. Policies of distribution are very important in South Africa in ensuring that we close the gap between those who have and those who do not have.
Boyo, with food security being such a pressing global issue, what specific initiatives or frameworks can we expect South Africa to propose, especially considering the ongoing impacts of climate change and, of course, the geopolitical tensions?
Look, the issue of climate change is tricky for Africa. In as far as you know that we'll be told that we need to use certain type of energy and at the exclusion of certain types. For example, we are discouraged from using coal in South Africa. We are discouraged from using nuclear in Africa. But the same countries of the West, they continue buying coal from Africa, in this regard from South Africa, using it for their own benefit in generating power and energy. And it's a gray line. We need to move slowly in trying to make sure that we protect the environment and we move to green energy. But that should not be done at the expense of collapsing our economy and contributing to the lack of revenue for the country. We need to move slowly with an understanding that South Africa is not where it is supposed to be. So I think that's my take on that one.
Right. Absolutely. Right, Boyo, thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa and for sharing your expertise and enlightening us there.
Thank you very much.